Hello, my darlings. Madame Raven here with another splendid steampunk story for you. This one is by Lindsay Llewellyn and is entitled The Engagement. Gold is the color of my enslavement, not the black of a pit or the iron of shackles, but a hue that matches the sun above and the coins of my bride price tumbling from my brother's hands. Clank, clink, clank they ring. Kari digs his lanky fingers through the treasure-filled purse on the deck of the northern steamship. Beside me, his wife, Ashanti, grins wide. They sold me for a price larger than several years' wages. I will be married off to a foreign official's son. A son I'd only met once, from a land so alien it may as well be the moon. Gold is also the color of this elaborate corset they stuffed me in. It glitters bright against my deep russet skin. The sleeveless gown for my engagement ball must have been made for someone with a ribcage of a dove. I reach behind me to loosen the laces and wiggle it in its confines. My lungs able to expand, I suck in a breath. Ashanti spins at the noise. "Nala," she whispers, hot with irritation. "What are you doing?" Her angered brow wrinkles under the shade of that hat, pinned to her dark curls. Elegant and lacy as it is, the floppy thing doesn't look right on her, not compared to her traditional head wraps. The way she looks down on me, like she's better, makes me yearn for my best speaker to call forth a flock of birds and destroy this ceremony. But they took my inventions from me too, just to be complete pains in the— "Nala!" Ashanti snaps when I don't respond. I drop my hand from my corset. Apparently I'm not allowed to breathe either. How English women wear this, I protest, tripping over the difficult language she insists I use. They care for beauty much, not enough. "Irish," she corrects me in my native tongue. "The O'Boyles are Irish. Skies above, your English is terrible. It's your beauty that will save our tribe from ruin. When you approach the Admiral's son, smile pretty, and don't speak unless spoken to." She turned back to watch my brother and the Admiral finalize my future, as if she'd won the argument. Fine. I didn't want to speak to the loud anyway. My future husband, Preston O'Boyle, leans his strapping body on a railing behind Kari, letting two busty women run fingers through his blonde mane before kissing their hands. What a catch! Fire courses through my body. This is who I'm to marry? The man who will give me a better life? Well, he can keep his life. I fiddle with the pouch I had sewn into this corset. A little backup in case Preston thinks no means yes. I burn for an open field, somewhere I can run far and fast from this nightmare. But there's nowhere to go. I'm surrounded by a vast ocean and elegantly dressed Irish people. The women cool themselves with fans dotted in smooth stones, while the men either stroke their absurdly styled facial hair or adjust tall hats that resemble the ship's pipes puffing black smoke behind us. Their skin reddens in the summer sun, so ghostly white and unfamiliar. None of them notice me. They're all too busy dancing to the band's melody or drinking concoctions that reek of spirits. No one notices me, that is, except one man. Several people away and pretending to talk to the men around him. Sullivan Macready stares at my gown, my neck, the curls of my hair. I haven't seen much of him since the day I boarded the ship mid-sea between Africa and the northern nation. After bumping into me, he'd been so kind, helping me with my sprawled-out luggage and making me laugh. Then poof, gone. Now he's back, and out on the deck in this fluffy gown, I practically feel the touch of his warm gaze. With little else I control, I straighten my spine and wave. He rubs his short beard chin and then makes a slight gesture back, his long brown hair catching the wind. When his eyes meet mine, it's as if I'm staring into the ocean, deep, green, and dangerous. I will myself to keep watching him through the odd flips in my gut, but a thunderous voice startles me, and I turn back to where my brother stands. Admiral O'Boyle, sculpted white beard, decorated navy uniform, and a stout frame, stands in front of a voice amplifier, ready to give a speech. This must be my engagement announcement. My pulse races. I thought I was ready, but I'm not at all. Then I catch sight of what's strapped around the man's neck. I freeze. There's no mistaking the horizontal brass tube resting over his collarbone, or the curved black mouthpiece at its center. Admiral O'Boyle is wearing my beast speaker. They gave it to him? Stole it from me and gave it to that man? But what could he want it for? Memories of his visit to my land flashed in my mind. How interested he was in my creation that allows me to communicate and call forth wild animals. "Welcome, honored guests," he booms. "As you know, our country has been in turmoil for decades. Unending violence and no means to truly protect our waters. But today we will witness a marvel of engineering that will keep our borders safe for generations to come. Today we will know what we are capable of. Behold!" He puts my best speaker to his mouth and blows a sound deep and terrifying. Glasses rattle, and the deck quakes. The Kraken. Waves crash against the boat. In the middle of the ocean, giant mechanical tentacles emerge from the depths. They tower over us to cover the sun itself. Water splashes from their gold joints, and a monstrous creak sound with each movement. Oohs and ahs are across the deck. Impressed by what the Admiral brought forth from the ocean. Only I know my beast speaker can't summon mechanical creatures. My bones quiver. That was the one call I swore I'd never use again. And from the vibrations here on deck, I'm sure he put a remote amplifier under the deck to make the sound inescapable underwater. Oh, what has he done? Then I remember the heated argument he had with my brother on his visit. Their English words were so fast, but I know it was Kari who insisted on an engagement over and over. And it hits me. I'm not here to get married. The engagement was a ploy to get my beast speaker. For what? To kill us? "Ashanti!" I cry, forgetting my English. My voice is near buried in the commotion. I pull on her sleeve in panic. "We need to get off the ship. Now!" She pulls away from me. "It's just a show. Stop being a child." She moves through the crowd to Kari, probably assuming I'd follow. But I don't budge. I stare at Kari. Surely he remembers what that call does. Yet when the Admiral leaves the stage, he doesn't seem horrified, only slightly confused. I spot the white-haired man drag his son through the stupefied crowd, my device still hanging around his neck. I gather my gown and move to do something about it. "Correct me if I'm wrong," a dark male voice stops me mid-stride. "But don't they typically announce engagements at engagement balls?" Sullivan McCready blocks my path, arms crossed. Black tattoos of ships cover his light skin where his sleeves are rolled up to expose. I know he's talking to me, but his gaze drifts to where the O'Boyles retreat. "We need to get off the ship." I try, hoping my broken English makes sense. His attention jerks from O'Boyles to me. "What?" "That's my beast speaker on the man's neck. That call, he used it to..." unable to form the words when a violent jolt rocks the boat. Wine glasses shatter, women cry out, and I tumble into Sullivan's arms. When the ship settles, still a bit shaky, he returns me upright. Questions lace his green eyes. "Whales," I whisper. "He summoned whales." And not just any herd of whales. A pod of enraged beasts responding to an aggression call. The same call that killed my parents 5 years ago. Their gray backs rise and fall in the ocean between us. And the Kraken. Sullivan sees them too. His eyes dart from where Boyle disappeared to the creature. His body straightens. "So that's his game," he says, more to himself than me. "Get us all to one spot and then sink his ship. Westies must have paid him a pretty penny to sell out his own countrymen." I don't catch everything he said, but I know what I have to do. I swerved around him to make for the back of the boat. He grabs my arm before I get far. "Where are you going?" "To get my beast speaker," I say. His grip loosens. I take off. Veering through the crowd of stunned people, I look back just once at the cries of whales on deck. They must have spotted our attackers and, oh no, the Kraken has lifted a small whale in the curl of its tentacles. The whale clicks and moans. With one last cry, the mechanical giant slaps the animal to the water. My heart drops. The people cheer. Fools, heartless fools. The ship rocks again. A pastry table crashes in front of me. The sound brings me to action. I bunch up the bottom frill of my gown and stretch over a mess of gooey Irish desserts. The crowd thickens with bodies shoving past me to watch the show. I elbow my way against the tide until the mass clears ahead. The Admiral and his son tosses the luggage into a lifeboat. Sullivan was right. They're abandoning us here to die, those scoundrels. Anger clouds my judgment. I march up to the two with no idea how to get my beast speaker back. No longer around his neck, the Admiral holds my invention in one hand, while urging his nonchalant son to help him pack the boat. Heat burns my ears and my fists tighten. I want to yell at them, demand my beast speaker, but my English fails me, and the only thing tumbling past my lips is, "Wait! Stop!" Preston O'Boyle turns at my cry. He smooths his wind-blown blonde locks. His blue eyes travel over the length of my body, and I cringe. "Well, well," he says with a smirk that makes me feel like a gazelle staring down a hungry lion. "If it isn't my fiancé." He crosses the few feet between us. I will my body back, but it rebels, frozen in place. He slides his arms around my waist and tugs me against his frame. "Don't worry, pet. There's room for one more, especially one as beautiful as you." His thumb skims my cheek, and I come to. In one fluid moment, I dig into the pouch I made in my corset, lace my fingers through the knuckle hilt of the 2-inch curved blade I hid there, and bring the weapon to his throat. Preston's eyes flare in response. "My beast speaker," I demand. Now staring at the Admiral, "Give it back." The Admiral rolls his eyes, more annoyed with my actions than worried. "Preston," he grunts, "stop fooling with the girl. We haven't all day." His words caught me off guard. When I looked back at his son, gone is the shock of his features. Instead, a coy grin snakes up his cheeks. "Gotta say, I was hoping for a wee bit of fun." Before I can breathe, he grabs both sides of my arms, twists it so that the blade falls to the background, pulling me in, then smashing his lips against mine. My body freezes, repulsed. His mouth is hot and greedy, tasting of fermented grapes. My shock gives way to outrage. I pull both hands against his chest and shove free. He laughs, like I'm some kind of child's toy. He licks his lips and then walks backward toward the boat. "Shame. You would have enjoyed my he starts, but his words are cut short at the click behind me. He stretches his hands to the sky. True fear now widens his eyes. The lady asked you to give her the gadget. I suggest you do it. I turn and Sullivan has appeared from nowhere. Moving forward in lengthy strides, he aims a long-barreled pistol at Preston's head. "Ah, Macready's boy," gathers the Admiral, his eyes narrowing. With my speaker in one hand, he too raises his arms, but he seems far from afraid of Sullivan and his guns. "Had a feeling you'd end up a spy. Just didn't know how thick it ran in your blood. Ain't a spy as much as a patriot. You, on the other hand, surprised you'd want to be known as a traitor." The Admiral shrugs. "Judge me all you want. The people who'll be knowing me aren't on this ship." He looks over the edge of his boat at the side of the ship in the ocean. Damage is already done. As if on cue, the ship jerks and the siren blares. Everything happens at once. The Admiral throws my beast speaker overboard. "No!" I scream. I lift my gown and bolt for the railing. A gun fires behind me. Someone cries out in pain. I think it's Preston. Grabbing his arm, he falls backwards to join his father. Out of my peripheries, their boat drops to the ocean. But I don't care. If my speaker's gone, we're all dead, with or without life rafts. I collide with the railing. Leaning over the edge, I see the brass bar resting in one of the small boats. My beast speaker. It's still there. My chest heaves in relief, but there's no time to get help. I grab a rope and pull one leg over the rail. But when I get the other leg over, the heel of my shoe slips. I fall back, gripping the rope with both hands. My legs dangle. Sullivan is there in seconds, steadying me. "You all right?" I swallow hard and nod. "It's in there. Lower me down." He helps me into the craft and then climbs down after me. The speaker rolls across the wooden planks from our movement. I reach under a bench to retrieve it. With jittery hands, I twist the knobs on its ends, adjusting the call. I hope this is it. I put the mouthpiece to my lips, open my throat, and blow. 1, 2, 3. The deep note resonates around us. "Was that it?" Sullivan asked through the sirens on deck. I look past him. In the ocean, a boil rose towards the Kraken, now sinking into the deep. He maneuvers over waves and the rising backs of whales. The ship pitches again. Ropes holding the boat to the main ship break loose. Sullivan and I drop halfway to the water. I put the speaker to my lips once more. 1, 2, 3. Something smashes against the opposite side of the ship, one after the other. Bam! 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 The navy hull of the ship rises out of the ocean like an angry cobra. Our rope, holding the life raft, completely snaps. Sullivan pulls me tight against him. We hit the water violently. A wave pushes us out to sea. When Sullivan releases me, I twist back, horrified at the sight. It's sinking! My brother, it's sinking! I don't remember moving, but I'm at the back of the boat, crying Kari's name. "Nala," Sullivan snaps. "Nala, we have to row." I ignore him, ready to drive in, but he yanks me back into the boat before I can. "I have to save him," I cry in my own language, tears streaming down my skin. "Kari, my brother, I have to." "You have to row," he finishes for me, "or that ship will take us down with it." My body shakes, but obeys him. Picking up the oars to row, I force myself to ignore the sound of the sinking ship, the screams, the moans of crushing steel. Instead, I focus on Sullivan and the pod swimming off behind him. It worked. My calming call worked, but it was far too late. We row for what feels like forever, waves pounding our boat and soaking my gown, until it sticks to my body. I match Sullivan row for row, and my arms ache. Clouds darken the sky in front of us, but the sun at my back has drenched me in sweat. Out of breath, Sullivan lets go of his oars and nods. When he drops his head in his hands, I let go of my oars and turn back. A sticky breath lodges in my throat. Gone is the kraken. Gone are the O'Boyles and the whale. And gone is the ship. I think I see people floating on the wreckage, but far too few. Come, Sullivan says, his voice strained and heavy. Let's go find your brother. I'm sure he got on the boat before she went down. But as the golden sun sets over the empty ocean, my hopes wane. More than anything, more than my beast speaker, more than freedom, more than ever returning home again, I want Sullivan's words to be true. But I know they're not, and I am crushed. So quoth this raven.